The story of Job is one of the oldest in the world. Job lived 4,000 years ago in the Middle East. He was a great man from many regards. The Lord saw him as great because of his blameless life. People saw him as great because of his possessions. But the account we have of him is not just of his possessions or greatness, but we have a debate that went on between him and three of his friends, wise men of his era, as they considered the issue of what happened to Job. Because bad things happened to Job, and the accusation would be made that this was punishment because of his sin. Surely, if we don't do anything wrong, then no bad things happen to us. That idea has been around for centuries, and the disciples expressed it when they came across a man who was born blind and said to Jesus, "Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And this is an issue that confronts all of us, because sometimes bad things happen to us and we can see no reason for them at all. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He had great possessions. There was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking in their oldest brother's house. And a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were ploughing and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabaeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house." And suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they are dead. And I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrong. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we share together from Job chapter 1, verses 13 to 21. We know the background here, that Satan had presented himself before God along with the other mighty angels, and that God had pointed out Job's righteousness to Satan. And Satan said it was false, it was just pretend, it was just a way of Job manipulating God, and that if God took away all his wealth and family, Job would curse God. Well, God gave Satan permission to do that, and Job hasn't cursed God. But we're told 4 things happen. These are things that are typical of things that could happen to us, things that have no rational explanation. They are just evil things that happen. They are things that come from God by the hand of Satan. The first one is his servants were out working in the field, the oxen were ploughing, and the Sabaeans raided them and took them away. The Sabaeans are people from Sheba. Dedan and Sheba were 2 ancient patriarchs, and they occupied what we now call Arabia. These people came and stole the oxen. But not only did they steal the oxen, they killed all of his servants. So the conflict against Job doesn't just affect Job, it affected the families of those who worked for him, and just one escaped to report to Job what had happened. And so we have today people who break in to steal, and murders that happen for no particular reason. But in this case, they were targeted against the righteous person. So it's dangerous to be righteous, because you become a target of Satan. Well, the next event is the fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. I alone have escaped to tell you. It's one thing when we're attacked by evil men, but this fire from God, we're attacked by God. This is what we might call a natural disaster, whether a massive lightning strike, whether a meteor strike from heaven with fire and brimstone. We don't have the details. But again, it burned up the sheep and it burned up the servants. Now these are things that Satan has inspired. He has done them in the name of God. We can understand him inspiring evil men to do evil deeds, but here he has harnessed the forces of nature to destroy, wantonly destroy the sheep and the servants of Job, which makes even less sense to us than a thief stealing. And while he was still speaking, the Chaldeans, another ancient people from Mesopotamia, formed 3 bands and raided the camels. We know of the Chaldeans, Chedorlaomer and his friends, making a raid in Abraham's time, and this is about the same period of time. They came in 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away. And again they killed the servants of Job with the edge of the sword. More people who were dependent upon Job for a livelihood have been killed for righteousness' sake. And finally, we find your sons and daughters. They were eating and drinking wine. They were having a good time. They weren't doing anything evil. And suddenly a great storm rose up, coming across the wilderness, and struck the corners of the house, and the house fell down, and all of the young people are dead. It wasn't just his servants. Now all his children are dead as well. It's not inappropriate when disasters happen to us to feel sad, to grieve. And so Job tore his robe. He shaved his head. He fell on the ground. But what did he say? Did he say, God, why have you done this? Well, he will ask God why. Please explain yourself. But no. He said, I came into the world with nothing, and I shall leave the world with nothing. But the Lord has given me many things, and the Lord has now taken them away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. We are told in the New Testament, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God concerning you. It's not just his will that we give thanks in bad circumstances, but we should give thanks in bad circumstances because God has a perfect plan, has good intentions for us. And if these bad things happen to us, there is a reason. In eternity, there will not be a penalty. Everyone's life will be taken. Everyone shall die. So those servants of Job who have been killed have gone to their reward. They were faithful, and they have gone to their reward. His sons and daughters have gone to their reward for their righteousness. Satan has had a successful day in getting rid of many righteous people from the earth. He'll never get rid of all of the righteous people, as God said to Elijah, when Elijah thought he was the only righteous person still left. I have reserved for myself 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. The Lord will always retain a witness to himself among men on earth. But those who have been killed have gone to their reward. As Jesus said, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And Job himself will yet learn things about God, which he could not learn just by being successful. And Job appreciates this. He puts into practice, recognizing that God has a purpose, even though it is hidden in the wisdom of God and is not evident to us. And so blessed be the name of the Lord. We should not sin by accusing God of doing wrong. God never does wrong. He never does evil. He is good. He does good. He is full of grace and mercy, patience, truth, goodness, forgiveness, and justice. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.